What happens when Hollywood's no nonsense tough guy walks straight into the lion's den of daytime television's most controversial host? Mark Wahlberg thought it was just another promo stop, an easy sit down on The View. But what unfolded was anything but routine. This was a full-blown ambush, one that left producers scrambling, co-host speechless, and security on edge. This wasn't just a celebrity interview gone wrong. This was a collision course, a powder keg of personal resentment and political tension exploding on live TV. Subscribe now and drop a comment, because this story spirals fast. Mark Wahlberg adjusted his tie, flashing that familiar Boston-born grin as he stepped onto the set. The audience clapped warmly, but he caught it immediately. Something in Joy Behar's eyes. A glint, cold, calculating. He'd done hundreds of interviews, faced skeptics, critics, cynics. But this felt different. "Welcome back to The View," Joy began, her voice smooth but edged with steel. "We're joined today by none other than Mark Wahlberg. And I have to say, I've been looking forward to this one for a very long time." Mark chuckled, settling into his chair with cool confidence. "Thanks for having me, Joy. Always a pleasure being here with you ladies." Joy's smile didn't reach her eyes. "Is it though? Because I seem to recall you having some pretty strong opinions about people in my line of work. You know, TV hosts. Especially the ones with political opinions." The room shifted. The air tightened. Mark stayed calm, jaw clenched just slightly. "I think you might be taking something out of context there, Joy." Joy reached for her cue cards like a dagger. "Am I? Because I've got the quote right here. Some of these Hollywood types need to stick to what they know instead of lecturing working-class Americans about politics." She paused. "Ring any bells?" Mark leaned forward, voice steady. "That wasn't directed at anyone in particular. But yeah, I stand by it. There's a difference between having an opinion and talking down to people." Joy arched a brow, voice dripping with venom. "Talking down. That's rich coming from someone who made millions playing streetwise tough guys. Tell me, Mark, when exactly did you become the voice of the working class?" Silence. Even Whoopi glanced toward producers off camera. Mark's accent thickened, his words slow, measured, but charged. "I never claimed to speak for anyone. But I am working class. Dorchester. I know what it's like to work 3 jobs, to hustle just to survive. I didn't grow up in an ivory tower making jokes about people's real lives." Joy's smile vanished. "Ivory tower," she hissed. "You think that's what this is?" "I've been in this business longer than you've been famous. I've earned the right to call out ignorance when I hear it." Mark didn't flinch. "And you use that right to lecture America every morning while real people are figuring out how to keep the lights on." The crowd was dead quiet. The tension, unbearable. Whoopi tried gently, "Maybe we take a break," but Joy cut her off, voice sharp. "No, I want to hear this. Please, Mark, tell us how we should use our platform. Should we just talk about the weather? Fluff pieces. Promote your movie and clap on cue." Mark's fists curled on the table. "You're proving my point. This isn't a conversation. It's a takedown. You don't like what I said, so now it's personal." Joy snapped. "What you said was ignorant. Don't stand there and pretend to be some blue-collar hero. I grew up in Brooklyn. My father was a truck driver. Don't lecture me about struggle." Mark's voice rose, now barely restrained. "Then why do you act like you're better than everyone else? Why mock people's beliefs just because they don't match yours?" Joy laughed bitterly. "Oh, you mean your beliefs? You want to talk about values, Mark. Like the ones that got you arrested. The ones tied to hate crimes." The room went cold. Mark's face drained of color, then flushed with fury. "That's a low blow, even for you? Is it, though?" Joy fired back. "Maybe people should hear about the real Mark Wahlberg, not the sanitized version Hollywood keeps selling." Mark stood. The chair scraped against the floor like a gunshot. "You know what? This right here is exactly what's wrong. You can't debate. You destroy. And I'm not playing that game. Joy's voice turned icy. Sit down, Mark. We're not done. Mark didn't move. Didn't blink. Yeah, we are. His voice was quiet, but final. Hands shaking, chest heaving, he looked around the studio one last time. This isn't journalism. It's blood sport. And with that, he walked off set, leaving Joy speechless, the audience stunned, and the cameras still rolling. In the control room, producers were panicking, hands flying across switchboards, voices overlapping. Someone yelled to cut to commercial, but nobody knew what to do. This was live television at its most volatile, and Joy Behar, she was loving it. Her eyes gleamed as she watched Mark Wahlberg unravel in real time. She had him cornered, and she wasn't letting go. Oh, so now you're walking out, she called after him, voice dripping with mockery. That's real mature. Mark, very working class hero of you. Mark stopped in his tracks, fists clenched so tight his knuckles went white. I'm not running. Joy, he said through gritted teeth. I'm refusing to be part of your circus. My circus. Joy barked out a laugh, harsh and grating. You came onto my show. You're a guest in my house. If you can't handle the heat, maybe you shouldn't have walked into the kitchen. There were murmurs from the audience. Uncomfortable shifting. Side glances. Even Whoopi leaned forward now, trying to regain control. Maybe we should move on to the movie. She began, her voice tight. No, Whoopi. Joy cut her off, eyes still locked on Mark. I think the audience deserves to know exactly who they're dealing with. Mark hesitated. Then slowly, deliberately, he sat back down, jaw tight. Posture rigid, fury held just below the surface. Fine, he said. Let's talk. But let's make it honest, Joy. Something you seem to have trouble with. Joy's tone sharpened, voice rising. You want honest. Fine. Honest is admitting you're just another privileged actor who's forgotten where he came from. Honest is knowing you've made more money, pretending to be tough than most people will ever see in a lifetime. Mark's voice turned cold. You think I've forgotten? Because I made it. You think I don't remember what it's like to have nothing, to see my mother working 3 jobs just so we could eat. Joy waved a hand dismissively, cutting him off with a sneer. Spare me. The poor little rich boy act doesn't work here. You want to bring up your mom? Let's talk about what she must feel watching you tear down people who are actually trying to make the world better. That did it. Mark slammed his palm on the table. Make the world better. By dividing people. By mocking half the country from a TV desk. By calling anyone who disagrees with you a moron. Joy's face hardened. I call stupid what it is. And right now, Mark, you're acting stupid. The gasp from the crowd was audible. Co-host sat frozen. Even the cameraman's hands trembled slightly on the pan. This wasn't TV anymore. This was combat. Mark leaned in, his voice now barely above a whisper, but razor sharp. You know what's stupid, Joy? Believing that just because you have a platform, it gives you permission to be cruel. That because people tune in, they want to see you rip people apart. Joy let out a brittle laugh, but there was something faltering in it now. A crack in the armor. Cruel. You think this is cruel? Mark's eyes didn't blink. Yeah, I do. And don't call me sweetheart. His voice dropped to ice. Because what you're doing isn't bold or honest or brave. It's bullying. It's the exact kind of toxic, arrogant garbage that's rotting this industry from the inside out. Joy's face flushed crimson. A bully. You think I'm the bully? You're a bully with a microphone, Mark said. And today, the mask slipped. Joy's shot lands like a sucker punch. That's rich, coming from a guy who used his fists on strangers. At least I fight with words. Mark exhales hard, head shaking in disbelief. There it is, Joy. You can't win on ideas, so you dig up dirt. Pathetic. Joy's voice spikes, shrill, brittle. I'm pathetic. Please. I didn't build a career playing the same tough guy on repeat. I don't flash a Boston zip code and call it authenticity. A Mark fires back, Boston edge razor sharp. And I don't mistake cruelty for clever. Every day you poison the well, turn real struggles into punchlines. Joy stands now, matching his height. You have no idea what I've done for social justice, for women's rights. More than you in your entire career. Be preaching to the choir. Mark scoffs. By mocking anyone who thinks differently. By using my platform to fight bullies like you. She snaps, voice cracking under the strain. Mark laughs, humorless. Bullies like me. Look around, you ambushed me, smeared me, and now I'm the bully. The studio is a vacuum, no air, no sound. Even the crew has frozen. Whoopi tries again. Maybe we should. No. Joy cuts her off. The audience deserves to know who they're being asked to support. A Mark leans in, voice low enough that the boom mics strain. This isn't about me, Joy. It's about how you turned discourse into blood sport. You've made civil conversation impossible. Joy's smile turns venomous. Civil. Like the conversation you had with that Vietnamese man you attacked. Oh, wait. That was just violence. The words detonate. Mark's face drains, then burns crimson. He speaks barely above a whisper. You just proved my point. You don't want justice. You want scalps. Winning matters more than truth. Joy tries for righteous fire, but her voice trembles. Mark rises again. You're not after truth. You're after your truth. You need to be the smartest in the room, even if it means being the cruelest. Joy's composure fractures. Don't lecture me on cruelty. You don't stroll onto my show and ambush people. That's your specialty, Mark snaps. This isn't journalism. It's just mean. The confrontation peaks, security edging closer, producers signaling frantic cues. Joy scans the silent studio, realizes she's lost the room, then doubles down with a smirk that will haunt replay reels for years. Maybe you should crawl back to your little Boston neighborhood. Leave the thinking to people who know what they're talking about. Mark's eyes narrow. The neighborhood where real people live, where honest jobs matter more than cashing checks to be nasty on TV. Joy sneers. Honest jobs, like dealing drugs, like assault. That was your RA summa before Hollywood buffed you shiny. A line crossed, no return. Mark steps toward her, security tightens the ring. You want pasts. Fine, let's unpack yours. Failed stand-up. A career salvaged only by stirring outrage. Professional hater. Joy blanches. You don't know. I know bitterness when I see it. Mark says, voice cold steel. You couldn't make it as a real entertainer. So you became an assassin with a microphone. The Joy's voice is a whisper now. How dare you? How dare I tell the truth? Mark shrugs. You invited me here to humiliate me. Congratulations, you just humiliated yourself. The set is ice still. The audience barely breathes. Security hovers. Producers stare in horror. And live television records, every electrifying second destined for viral infamy. You've just shown the world who you really are. The voice didn't come from Mark or Joy, but from Whoopi, who had finally found her footing in the wreckage of the studio. Mark, she said gently, maybe we should all take a step back. No, Whoopi, Mark interrupted, eyes never leaving Joy. We finish this. Joy wants to talk about character. He continued, his tone turning icily precise. Let's talk about it. What kind of character ambushes a guest live on national television? What kind of person drags up someone's darkest mistakes instead of having an honest conversation? Joy's hands were visibly shaking now. You attacked me first, she snapped. You called me out? I called out your behavior. Mark shot back. Not your past. Not your character. You went personal first, and when you did, I defended myself. He leaned forward, voice quiet but commanding. The difference, Joy. I can own my mistakes. Can you? The audience was frozen. No coughs, no whispers, just stunned attention. This wasn't television anymore. This was a reckoning. My actions, Joy said, her voice growing shrill, her about fighting for what's right. About standing up to men like you who think they can intimidate women. A Mark let out a breathless, joyless laugh. Intimidate. Joy, you've been on the offensive since I sat down. You've been throwing punches while calling yourself the victim. I ask tough questions. Joy snapped. That's what journalists do. Mark's eyebrow arched. You think you're a journalist? He asked, incredulous. Journalists seek truth. You seek spectacle. You ask questions not to uncover answers, but to humiliate people. You're not a journalist, Joy. You're a shock jock with a daytime time slot. The words landed like a slap. Joy's mask cracked, just for a second. Then came the breaking point. Get out, she said, her voice low and trembling. What? Get out! Joy shouted, rising from her chair and pointing toward the wings. Get off my show. Get out of my studio. I don't have to sit here and listen to this. Mark stared at her, astonished. You're kicking me off, he said, blinking. After you ambushed me. After you tried to destroy me in front of millions. Yes, she said louder. This is my show. I decide who gets to stay. Mark shook his head slowly, almost sadly. This is perfect, he muttered. Absolutely perfect. You invite me here under false pretenses. You go for the jugular. And when I defend myself, you play victim and toss me off set. He turned to the security guards, who had begun moving cautiously closer. It's okay, he said, raising his hands. I'll leave. Not because she's kicking me out, but because I won't sit here and be disrespected by someone who's forgotten what basic decency looks like. He began walking toward the exit, then stopped, turned. Faced her one last time. You know what the saddest part is, Joy. His voice was calm now. Measured, lethal. You had a chance, a real chance, to show people that we can disagree without dehumanizing each other. That we can talk, even argue, with dignity. But instead, you chose to be exactly what everyone expects. You chose to be the villain. Joy's face was a mixture of rage, shame, and disbelief. Just get out, she muttered. I am, Mark said. But I hope your audience remembers this moment, remembers who started this and who tried to end it, remembers who spoke with respect and who spat venom, remembers who was professional and who was a bully. He walked off the set. The silence was deafening. Joy stood there motionless, shaking, humiliated, hollowed out by the very game she tried to control. She had handed Mark Wahlberg the biggest public victory of his career. And worse, she'd done it live. The cameras kept rolling as he disappeared behind the curtains, leaving behind stunned hosts, shell-shocked crew, and an audience who had just witnessed a career implode in real time. Whoopi cleared her throat. We'll be right back, after this break. But everyone knew there was no coming back from what just happened. In the hours that followed, clips of the confrontation flooded social media, racking up millions of views within minutes. News outlets dissected every frame, every glare, every word, and a narrative took shape, fast and unforgiving. Joy Behar hadn't just lost her temper. She'd lost the room, the audience, the credibility. Mark Wahlberg had arrived to promote a movie. He left as the unintentional star of one of the most one-sided, explosive takedowns in daytime television history. He walked out with his dignity. She was left standing in the ruins, and the world was watching,